Good afternoon and welcome to Connections. And I'm your host, Pastor Kevin McGee of the Victory Temple Church of God in Christ. And you're listening to us on IntellectualRadio.com. You can also listen to us on iHeartRadio. Connections is a show designed to keep you connected to the Christian community. So sit back and relax as we get connected. And if you wish to become a Connection sponsor, please reach out to me on Facebook or on my inbox, or you can email me at bishop1915@gmail.com. Nature Sunshine. Have you met your weight loss goals for 2018? Would you like a natural approach to weight loss? Do you want to see and feel changes immediately? Do you take medication for high blood pressure, diabetes, asthma, fibromyalgia, cancer, arthritis, or any other condition in your body? Do you have poor circulation, frequent colds, flu, or chronic fatigue? Or perhaps you just want to maintain a healthy body? You need to give Nature Sunshine a try. They have many products and plans that will assist you in losing weight or maintaining and improving your health the natural way. You can visit them at www.victoriousliving.mynsp.com, or you can email them at cdocgee@yahoo.com, or contact them at 708-302-5655. Would you share information that can save the life of someone you care about? Or, of course you would. Many of our women and girls are suffering from the monthly side effects of products currently on the market shelves. Introducing cherished products that are a healthy, natural alternative to the unregulated items currently in circulation. They also have supplements for men to aid in prostate health, memory booster, and other nutraceuticals. Visit their website at nowweknow.net. That's NOWWENO.net to find more information about their product line. And if you would like to have a live demonstration at your event, place an order, or ask any questions, contact Angela Garrett at 708-508-0592, or you can email her at angiegarrett65@outlook.com, or you can find her on Facebook under Angela Elaine, and Angela has 2 L's. The Bedrock Movement affirms safety, comfort, dignity, awareness, and empowerment for Chicagoland street homeless who sleep on the street. For any internship needs for school, community service mandated from the court, or you just want to volunteer assisting the street homeless, please call John Netherly at 773-567-5110. Today in our studio, I'm so glad to have this lovely young lady, a longtime friend of mine, powerful woman of God. And she has a testimony and a story to tell. And she goes by the name of Angelique Stewart.
Oh, yes.
She is in our studio today, and she will be going over her brand new book. And we're going to get into all of that, but we're so glad that she's able to be with us and take time out of her busy schedule. And those that are listening on Facebook Live, you can feel free to ask her any comments, any questions, or if you have any comments, you can type your comments in on the Facebook Live. Or if you want to call in, you can call in at 708-223-8953. That's 708-223-8953 if you want to just shout out to her via the telephone. But I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so honored to be here.
It's good. It's good to have you here. And I
Yeah.
know you have a busy schedule, and but you took time out for little old me, and I appreciate it. You are on a wonderful path, this new journey in your life. And so we're going to dissect parts of your journey where the Lord has brought you and the place that he's placed you in.
Yes.
That you are not only benefiting from what he's doing, but you're offering a resource of help to others that are going through some similar things. And so before we get into all of that, tell us a little bit about who is Angelique Monique Stewart.
All right. Well, as you said, my name is Angelique Monique Stewart. Look at your neighbor and say Stewart.
Stewart.
That is the winning name. I am an evangelist. I am a mother. I am a flight attendant for a reputable airlines for almost 15 years. I am a voiceover artist. I am a friend. I am the author of the newly hot released book, going back to the name my daddy gave me, Divorcing with Integrity.
All right. Hot new release.
Oh,
listen,
yes.
people, I've read the book. It's hot. And it's not a long read.
Yeah.
I think I read it in a day and a half. And that's because I took a break. I could really read it in 1 minute. I hate to put them down. And it's just an awesome read. And I was excited. You had a book signing in a couple of months ago,
Oh, yes,
and
December 4th, I believe it was.
it was awesome. A lot of people
Yes,
there, and so
yes.
a lot of people are happy for you. A lot of people are chiming in on Facebook. Shout out to those. Tara Bell Gibson,
All right.
Michelle Heath. My own mom is looking. Adrian Brown, amen. One of the Brown sisters. Bernadette Jones.
Amen.
My good friend Mary Coleman, Angel Johnson, Barbara Boyd Gill,
I love it. Thank you all so
Leah
much.
Annette Bonet, Annette Harris, who has a show here on Intellectual Radio on Wednesdays, Mind, Body, and Soul. She's logged in. Amen. Remember to type in your comments for any comments you might have for Evangelist Stewart. And or you can call in again 708-223-8953. Let's talk about let's talk about some things that led up to this book. What have been some of your greatest challenges and proudest moments? Your greatest challenges in life, and then your proudest moments in life.
I think I would say being a flight attendant, working in an industry that causes you to be various places sporadically. So it does not necessarily create the stability that sometimes I desire, so that I could do other things. But at the same token, I understand the purpose for why God placed me in that industry, allow me to be comfortable in every state, there's nowhere I can go that I'm not comfortable. And I know that that is the plan of God, making me comfortable wherever my feet land. And so I understand that there's a greater purpose than what I would personally desire sometimes. So that's a challenge when you're doing ministry. As far as my proudest moment, hands down, it's the birth of my son. He is truly a masterpiece, a senior at Hampton University. And I think that there's no greater moment than looking at what you contributed to making great and seeing it great and knowing that greater is coming as well.
Amen, amen. And senior at HU, that's a wonderful thing,
Yes, it is.
because that means he'll be on his way out. And it's a great testament to the parenting that you have
And
and
grandparenting.
grandparenting. It takes a village. The village still
Yes, it
is a
does.
relevant piece in our society today.
Oh, yes.
Now, let's get to this. Um, Going back to the name, my daddy gave me
Mm-hmm.
divorcing with integrity. I like that
Yes.
tagline, divorcing with integrity, because so many people they get divorced and there's usually messy divorces there. As a pastor, we come into contact with people going through divorce on a regular occasion. And, in the Christian world, divorce is just a word that we don't, as pastors, we don't like to hear.
Yes,
But we have to, the truth of the matter is, it's a reality
it
in the church.
is.
People in the church are getting divorced like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
We wish it would not be so, but sometimes it has to be.
Yes.
There are various reasons why people get divorced. And honestly, some people get divorced because they never should have been married to each other in the first place. They were the wrong people to
That's true.
marry one another.
That's true.
They might have been meant to be married, but they married the wrong person. Then the other
Mm-hmm.
times, they didn't seek any type of counseling from
Mm-hmm.
anyone. They just said, "Mama, Daddy, we getting married. Who you marrying? I met him 6 months ago. What? And then I think people do the checklist. We're getting married, inviting the guests, getting the hall, finding a caterer, the flower person, and then they have marriage counseling at the
Mm-hmm.
bottom, as opposed to, because when they come to the pastor, they've already made up their mind. This is what we're
Mm-hmm.
going to do. We just want to say we had counseling. So, but
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to divorce, that is something that's devastating to any family.
Oh, yes.
I don't care if you were glad you got divorced to have a divorce party. It's still a devastating thing because it disrupts your normal flow of life.
Yes, it does.
But you wrote this book. Please,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to get into detail, but what led you? What made you decide I want to write a divorce?
I think when you grow up as I did, the women in my family are strong. My grandmother was married, I believe, almost. And I think that when you grow up in the church, we're taught not to talk almost. We're taught to kind of go through, keep it to yourself and be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. And I yet believe that to a degree. We're taught to testify but don't tell it of that. I do agree. However, when we find ourselves in some situations, you forget that you don't have to, you have a support system in place. There are people around you that are there to support, and you don't have to go through everything alone. And so I think I decided, because I think that growing up, I kind of received misconstrued information, if you will. I think that I remember seeing people, and they would come with a black eye one week, next week they were as the strongest of God in the world. They were able to come with black eye, and nobody ever told her, I don't believe. If they didn't, they should have, that she didn't, to where she left with, and where she black eye. She didn't have to deal with those situations. And I think that people look at strength and they forget that strength is not in the you doormat for others to walk over to prove the sincerity of your faith. And that misjudgment, I think that was a miscall somewhere, because when I look at my life, I say to myself, why did I think that the endured were acceptable? And it was because I was focused on the fact that I wanted to be strong the way I've been taught to be, and I wanted to write the book so that others read it. And if I find something in it that merely resembles the situation that they're in, I want them to say that's not a situation. It have to be used. I don't have to be taken advantage of. Those things are not acceptable, and that's why I wanted to write my book. Now at 44 years of age, nobody's going to word my mouth but the Lord. And I do believe that in this book, God did it. And I'm telling you, Pastor McGee, I'm not trying to be the poster girl for how to divorce or how to leave your man in 30 days. I'm not trying to encourage divorce. I hate it. And listen, I've never divorced anybody. Okay, so a supporter of divorce. I know the collateral damage, as I speak of that in my book, that it does to families, to ministries, to onlookers, people that don't even know you, but they had great expectations of who you were together. And the disappointment that comes, I know that all too well. So I'm certainly not trying to encourage divorce, but I am encouraging strength and self-respect that all deserve.
You just said something very interesting. You said you did not divorce anyone.
That's right.
And I think many times when people look at divorce, whether in the church, outside the church, they automatically think it's the woman who left the man. And they don't realize that most cases, men leave their wives all the time, but they just stay married. They go off. The man's not trying to get a divorce because he said maybe one day I'll go back home. That how it is. You know how it used to be. You grew up on the block. How many fathers was at home? Yeah. You had daddy that came by every now and then because he walked off a long time ago. Nobody was divorced. And if there was a divorce, it's usually the woman who went and got the divorce. But you say you did not divorce anyone, which means you didn't pursue it. Right. And so
and as you said, Pastor, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but you're right in that. You said sometimes people just should not be together. But I'm going to tell you this. There are times when people should be together and the enemy, and he shows up and he disrupts what should have been, could have been, what God ordained. So it's not, you just never know. But I do know that there are certain things that we should not ever think is okay. And there are certain things that are unacceptable. And it's just different from back in the day. Somebody would be unfaithful and you would stick it out and tell them to come back home, have that second plate on the table waiting for them just in case they decided to be with you that day. Well, it's different now. People are dying of AIDS and STDs and chlamydia and all of these things. And so to take that into consideration, you have to consider what's being done to you and the effects that it could have on your body and your entire life. And you got to know that you got to forget about what you want and remember what you deserve. And when you do that, you'll make better decisions for your life.
And the Bible clearly does parameters for divorce, and definitely the unfaithful is the thing, because the Lord knew certain things come with being unfaithful. Well, yeah, like back in the day, nobody divorced, and you had the second plate or the third plate because you didn't know what that husband was coming home with. You didn't know if he had a
That's
child he was
right.
bringing home that now you got to raise.
That's right.
How many times have we seen families raising an extra child that it was that husband's child? Boy, no, that's the way it was.
hmm
Uh,
And my book, Pastor, is for the. It's not for the one that's in between trying to see what they're going to do. I believe that people should fight for a relationship that they value. I believe that people should continue to strive for a marriage that's peaceful, that's loving, and that's beneficial to both parties. My book is for those that have been divorced and that are stuck in that situation that no longer exists, that are sitting back hoping that marriage that is no longer valid once again will become valid. That's who this book is for, to allow them to get over the hump of what no longer is.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna give you. I got a question because I read the book, and so I got a couple of favorite parts of the book. I want you to read those first, but then I'm gonna let you go through and read some things that you love about your book. But Earl, can we take just a quick break? We're gonna come on, take a quick break, and we'll be back with Angelique Stewart. Welcome back to Connections, and we're here with Angelique Stewart, and we've been talking about her book, going back to the name my daddy gave me, Divorcing with Integrity. And listen, I have a favorite portion of this book. Listen,
I'm scared to see
there's
the
this.
part that was.
Whoo, let me see. There was one that said, I believe it said, there is a rat sleeping. Is that a rat?
I smell a
I
rat.
smell a rat.
hmm
And then you had okay, that was one. I smell a rat.
Yes.
But then we had one about something sleeping in my bed. What was it?
It said, "Oh God, there's a serpent in my bed."
Yeah. Oh God, there's a serpent in my bed. So I want to hear I smell a rat. And then I want to hear, oh God, there's a serpent in my bed. And then you can just go ahead and read what you want to read.
Well, I'm gonna read. I'll read those. I also wanted to read something else because one of my favorite ones is So You're Playing Musical Beds Again.
Oh
Do you
yeah.
remember that one?
Yeah, that was good.
Okay. So I smell a rat. It says there are times in relationships that you may suspect trickery or deception. You might not be able to pinpoint it, but obviously there's some monkey business going on. It is rather disheartening to even contemplate the possibility of being emotionally bamboozled. It is enough to literally make your blood boil and shake you to the core of your existence. Once you conclude that the rat you smelled was not a figment of your imagination, just put out the cheese, sit back patiently, and wait, because every rat ultimately gets caught in the trap. All right. And so now what was the other, Pastor?
There's a serpent in
Oh,
my
that's in the
bed.
beginning. Okay. I would have had it ready had you. Okay, here we go. It says, it is a mind blowing discovery to come to the realization that you have made an alliance with a serpent. No one would purposely attach themselves to someone specializing in deception. Many of us were rather excited to announce our marital union to the prominent Dr. Jekyll. It was a troublesome surprise to find that unknowingly we also married his alter ego, Mr. Hyde. Many believed that their union was a blessing, and now they consider it a curse. They were thankful to have connected with an upstanding citizen only to find a heartless trickster underneath. Truth is, all of us have inner demons desperately wanting to be unleashed. We have an unappealing side, constantly fighting to be set free. We work extremely hard to suppress our darker side, praying endlessly that our flaws will never reach the surface, submerging our hidden self as far down as we can, hoping to expose pure perfection and conceal the rest. If our imperfections ever reveal their face, all we can say is, hello, world, meet the other me.
All right. All right.
Because everybody's got another side.
Everybody got two sides. What's your other side?
I'm a good girl all around the board.
All right. Now,
All around the
what
board.
are some of your favorite
You know what?
portions of?
I love user alert. I love my dedication. The dedication. Most people dedicate their book, especially their first book, to their mom or to their grandmother, people that they love, to their people that they love, to their children, etc. I didn't want to do that. This was not the book, nor was it the experience that I wanted to dedicate to people that I love, and so I wanted to dedicate it. Differently and a little uniquely. And it says, this book is solely dedicated to the heartbreak that made me stronger, the betrayal that made me sharper, the hurt that made me prosper, and the experience that made me wiser. I am a winner because of you. My sincerest thanks, a conqueror. I
So,
love that. When I wrote that, I pat myself on the back and said, girl, you did that thing, because that's the way I feel about that experience. And I'm so grateful that I made it through those experiences. I love user alert because many of us have encountered, and I'm talking male and females, users and losers. We've encountered them. And so this one says, I'll read it quickly. It says, it is imperative that we keep our eyes peeled on our new boo if they are desiring exclusivity at warp speed. If in a lickety split they insist on getting married and moving into your living domain, think twice. It may be because an eviction notice has been neatly secured on their front door, forcing them to act quickly. If they have been given approximately 90 days to vacate their premises, that gives them about 60 days to make a fool out of you. With 30 days to spare and a tad bit of deceptive strategizing, that's plenty of time for them to make your house their home. Skillful users can easily detect enablers. They work diligently to pinpoint potential targets willing to carry them another round. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if you just met your boo thing on yesterday and they moved in with you today, look out. It is not love at first sight. It's trickery at its best. Sorry, boo, you're a victim too.
that's good. That's good. Yeah, and the book has a plethora of chapters such as that. Um, I got it. One more, and that's I believe that's the beginning where it talks about the going to dinner and the
Oh yeah,
re-
prelude to a hot
prelude.
mess.
I want our producer to hear that one. Prelude to a hot mess.
Prelude to a hot
All you
mess.
fellas that's listening on Facebook Live, listen. You don't want to do this. Trust me.
All right.
So
Yes.
read that one, please.
Prelude to a hot mess. I'm sorry. There we go. It says, check, please. This is what you should have said smack dab in the middle of that first date. Let's reminisce. Their debit card was declined. They were domineering and self centered. And their bankruptcy attorney was on speed dial. You were in the line of fire, and the alarm was sounding, notifying you of danger up ahead. Red flags were raised as undesirable characteristics stood out, yet all cautionary indicators were ignored. Please note that there is always an introduction to a hot mess. The way it begins is typically the way it will end. One does not abruptly shift from being integral and well ordered to becoming slick and sly by means of extreme disorder. Therefore, read fine print. You cannot afford to miss a beat. What you see now is exactly what you're going to get. Oftentimes, we bank on untapped potential, convinced that the greatness we foresee will soon materialize. Don't bank solely on anyone's potential, as it may never be reached. What you thought was a gold mine might prove to be a proverbial wreck. Dating is the opening act, the kickoff to the real marital deal. Be advised that what you see initially could be a prelude to a hot mess.
Yeah, and the reason why I like that because how many people go on a date and they come back from their first date. I met the person I want to marry. You don't know anything about them. And I used to say this. It used to be a time growing up when a fella had to work hard to get information from the young lady he's interested in. He had to find out what her favorite color. He had to work hard. He had to put some time in. Now, women do not get offended, but now some women do quickly.
Oh, yes.
They on the first day they tell you what your favorite color is, or what the favorite flower is, what this, that, and the other, and then they slowly start introducing all these favorite things in your life, and you go home to your girlfriend. He know my favorite color. He know my favorite. Yeah, because you told him all of this. He doesn't have to work for anything because you gave him all the information. Amen. And so you have to really take this thing slow, and then look for the warning signs, like you said in your book. If you don't look for the warning signs, then there's no one's fault when you run into a train wreck but your own. Because if you fail to heed the flags, to the warning signs, then you might, as you say, be in a prelude to a hot mess.
And there's always so many signs. There are always so many signs. Think about it. If they when you met them, they're not gonna have it when you're married to them. If do you understand what I'm saying? If their registration plate on their car says 2012 and it's 2015, do you think they're gonna be responsible as it relates to things in your home if they're not even handling things, independently? And so you have to be alert to all of those things. You have to watch, as I said on the previous show. You have to observe and not make excuses for that you see.
And my next question:
Mm-hmm.
Was this book instrumental in your healing, or were you healed before writing the book?
It was definitely instrumental in my healing. However, there was some healing, and that's important that there's healing that takes place prior to you writing or verbalizing anything that you've been through, not just with relationships, but before you testify, you have to have overcome that thing, or else you sound foolish. You sound bitter because you are still bitter. You sound hurt because you are still hurt. You sound broken broken because you are still broken. So there was a level of healing that took place prior to even feeling strong enough or even to have a desire to write the book. However, in the process of writing the book, there were certainly flashbacks that I had to deal with. There were memories, there were things that I had to reminisce on in order to paint the full picture throughout my book. So I was forced to deal with them in order to reenact my experiences some way creatively in my book. And so all of those emotions that I felt then, I dealt with as I wrote my book. And I had friends that undergirded me throughout the process. I had people that I was accountable to. I had pastor friends of mine that I would call and say, and read things to them because I wanted to make sure that what I was saying would not create an atmosphere that felt like bitterness or that felt like anger or hatred. I didn't want the scorned woman sound because that's not where I am. I wanted to make sure that the words that I was writing would be truth. But at the same token, the only backlash I wanted was for anybody that felt like they were stuck in a situation to know that they didn't have to remain in it. And that's what I wanted. So there was healing that took place prior. There was healing that took place during the duration of writing the book. And you know what? There's healing that's taking place now because every time someone tells me that they read the book and that their life has been changed as a result of it, and that they look at their lives and their relationships differently, they know they deserve more, healing is continuously taking place.
And that's awesome. And it's very important. You often mention this. I remember when you were, before you put the book out, we would talk, you would often talk about support system.
Oh, yes.
You have to have a system going through something like this. Otherwise, right, you drive yourself crazy. You act unseemly.
That's right. As many people do. You can't take it back. You can't take some things that you say and do back. And when you react out of hurt, it's a very shameful look. It don't look good. And so I'm grateful for the covering that I've had throughout my entire process.
And I think that when it comes to certain people in the church, like I said, everyone goes through divorce, every level of life, every facet of life, every culture, every race, they go through divorce. But there's something when it comes to when the preacher, the evangelist, the missionary, when they go through a divorce, the people who preach the word of God, who bring the word of God, people look at us like saying, how can you go through divorce? Why shouldn't be divorcing because you preach the word and this, that, and the other. How hard is it for someone who had, you're at that level in ministry, you're in ministry, you're preaching, and to, when people become aware that you are in the midst of a divorce, not divorce, but in the midst of divorce, what kind of, have you suffered any backlash from that?
You know what? I wouldn't say that I have. I think that, let me say this first. I think that a divorce has the same effect. It's just different on who's affected by it. Okay. If you're a politician and you go through a divorce, your divorce affects the community that's looking at you. If you're a pastor, leader of some sort, your divorce affects your membership. So it affects all things that are viewing it, all people that are viewing it. So I don't think it's any different. I don't think that I experienced backlash. I felt like the people that were close to me, people that have been in my circle, I think that your history speaks for itself. And I think that that's why it's so important to maintain an integral life, because I don't care what area it is, people will stand by you. And so I don't feel like I've experienced any negative backlash. I think that I've had an amazing support system. And
awesome.
So yeah, I'm grateful for that.
Some of the feedback that we get on Facebook Live, shout out to Demetri Brand Triplet, Melissa Peel. Right. First Lady Melissa Peel, she's watching. She wants to know Where can we purchase the book?
The book can be, thank you so much, Lady Pill. The book can be purchased on Amazon.com. Just put in the search box, going back to the name my daddy gave me, and it'll come right up. The book can be purchased directly from my website, www.angelintheair.com. And the book can also be purchased at Barnes and Noble.
All right. Again, Helena Duncan is watching. Cassandra Bradley is watching. Caprice Nicole watching. God bless everybody.
Yes.
Nat Harris says, hashtag transparency at its finest.
Thank
And
you
when
so
you can be
much.
transparent about your situation, that's where the integrity comes in.
Yes.
You know, many times we're so private. And so, you know, especially those of us in ministry, we're so private that it seems like we are disconnected from the rest of the body,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because we don't want people to know that we're going through.
Yes.
But when you can share your hurt, when you can
Mhm.
share your struggle, people can identify with you. And that actually widens your support
Yes, it does.
structure. And it will help to undergird you even further. Because you happen to know how many books you've sold thus far?
I know that within 30 days of the book release party, which was held December 4th, we sold over 300 books within that 30 days. I don't know where the book sales stand now because we get the reports quarterly. So I only know the books that I have personally sold. The ones that I'm mentioning are books that I have personally sold, not the ones that have been sold on Amazon or via Barnes and Noble or through my website.
Well, it's an awesome book. And I encourage everyone to get it, whether you're going through a divorce or not. It's an awesome read. You want to have this in your library because you might need to be able to pass this on to someone else who's going through and they don't know how to go through.
Yes.
And so you really want to pass this on. Melissa Peel says, we are so private, we suffer in silence.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
Oh, yes. And we do it because we've been taught to do it that way. And I think that now, don't get me wrong, I believe in wisdom times 1,000. You gotta have it. You need to have it, regardless of what area or what facet you serve in or you work in. Wisdom is the principal thing. I believe it, and I do believe that if you are in a situation that requires another ear, you have to pray and find that ear. Ask God to direct you to that ear, because I'm telling you, I had people in my corner when I'm telling you, one day I remember this particular day. I remember literally laying on the floor. And I remember laying on the floor, just crying so hard. I was so devastated that things took this particular turn. And I remember the phone rang, and it was the woman of God. This woman of God has no idea the impact of her phone conversation. When I answered the phone, she said, I answered the phone and I was trying to get myself together because the first time she called, I did not answer. She called back. And so I answered and I put on the church sound. Woman of God, how are you? Okay. I put on the church sound and she said to me now, she said, everything that God has promised you, it's going to come to pass. Don't you worry about. And the Lord used her to speak into my life. Before I knew it, I was getting up off that floor. Her name is Evangelist Campbell. She's in 6 jurisdiction. That woman of God spoke into my life. So when I got off that phone, off that floor, I called one of my friends. I said, hey, you want to go to New York?
Just go to New York.
She said, when do you want to go? I said, I need to leave now. Because if I don't leave now, somebody's going to come up missing. She met me. We went to New York. We hung out. We prayed. She talked me through that situation. When I came back from New York, when I tell you that restoration had taken place, it was just a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I understand. So when I speak and when I talk about, strength and not accepting certain things, I'm saying it not because I don't hurt, not because I have not shed any tears. I'm qualified to say it because I have. and because I understand. And so, yeah, we go through quietly, we go through silently, and sometimes that's necessary. But there are so many times that it's not, and that we need the ear of another person.
Annette Harris, she responds to Lady Peel. She says, um, "Suffering, we're suffering because we don't want people to know. Too much pride." And then she says, hashtag hurt people can help people.
Oh, yes.
Hurt people
I
can
love
help
that. That is
people.
so true.
You know,
That
so
is so true.
and you don't know who is being helped from your book. You know, this is something again that you can have on the shelf, and it might not be going through it, but then you might find yourself one day going through it.
That's right.
You're saying, God, what am I doing? God can direct you to the book.
That's right.
And you can use it as a tool to help you to get over, get through that valley experience, to get through that hurt, to give you some type of focus point.
Yes.
You know,
and everybody has a friend that's been there. It may not be their experience, but you better believe they got a friend that's crying right now over a broken relationship. They got a cousin right now that's stuck in a broken relationship. They got a relative right now that's still stuck in a relationship that's been over for years, but they have not been able to get past it. Why? Because when they talk about it, the people are just listening and they're just letting them get it out their system. But you have to lead them somewhere. You have to lead them to a better place of peace. And the only way you can do that is by injecting strength in them that's to stick, and integrity in them that will last.
And you just mentioned something about the various people in these broken relationships. The principles of your book can be applied to people who are not married, but they're in a bad relationship that they probably should not be in.
That's right.
It's not just, yes, yours was a divorce, but this can be a tool to help anyone that's in a relationship that's going nowhere.
That's right.
One of my pets is I have a problem. Have a problem with anyone hitting anyone else.
It's never justifiable.
Or even an abuse at any level, verbal, emotional, any of that. No one should have to stand up, with that and take that. And so I tell anyone, if you're in an abusive relationship, you have to seek your safety first.
That's right.
Seek your safety first. The old folks say, just stay there and take it, baby. Like you said, and you have the woman to come with the black eye this Sunday, the broken arm the next Sunday, but she stay there and she takes it.
And we say, baby, just keep coming as she should. But in the midst of that, you still have to have resources available and a conversation ready to help pull them out of that rut that they're in, regardless of what it is.
Exactly. And actually, you've actually answered my next question was, how has your faith prepared you for the route that you're on? Because your faith has been built. And I believe that because you were an evangelist before going through all of this, that helped you. Because like what you said, if someone's going to come up missing.
Gonna come up missing. I'm telling you. And you know what? As far as it relates to my faith, let me just say, because in the book I talk about a fish out of water. You remember that one? Okay. Because as long as you can always remember your true element, I'm talking about who you were, who you are before connecting to another person. See, we connect with people and then we become them. We become one, right? And so you don't prepare your mind to no longer be one with those people or to no longer be connected in that relationship. You start working together for everything to benefit the team. Well, when this takes place, you have to find a new normalcy for yourself. And so you have to remember your true element, who I was before I knew him, and who I was valuable. There was yet a purpose for my life. And when I was reminded that, it didn't take me long to say, hey, it's some good here. There's something good that can yet come out of this situation, because I am who I am, because he created me to be who I am, and there is yet a purpose for my life.
And I love the title, because on the surface, going back to the name my daddy gave me, my maiden name, but on the surface, but deep down, you're going back to the person that you were.
You're going back to the person you are, who you were before. You're going back to, that innocence that you had before you got hurt, because now that skin is tougher. So you're going back to that vulnerability. You're going back to just that pure way of looking at things. Those things that were destroyed in that relationship. You're going back to, that precious state, because these these relationships, they can mess you up and have you so angry and so bitter and so irritated and you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person. I don't want people that I love to be that person. I don't want people that I don't know to become that person that's upset all the time over something that happened when their child was 10 and now their kids are 45. I want us to be free from anything that would bound us up, and broken relationships can certainly leave you bound if you let it.
If you let
If you let it.
If you let it. And this last question I ask everyone who comes on the show: if you were declared a living legacy, you're not dead, but you're a living legacy, what is the impact that you want to leave behind?
Oh my God, a living legacy. You know, the impact that I would want to leave behind if a person was to think about Angelique Monique Stewart, I think that I would want them to think of strength personified. I'm talking about know me to be able to say, I've watched her bleed. I've watched her suffer. I've watched her go through. I've watched her experience shame. I've watched her experience humiliation. But yet she never stopped moving forward. Forward movement is what I would want them to think of me as, to see the strength that only comes from God and to know that He's the one that I look to in broken situations. And so strength personified, that's the definition that I want my name to define, because it's certainly what has been displayed and what I've attempted to display throughout all of my trials.
All right. Well, we're so grateful to have you. Can you give us right quick your contact information again?
The website address is angelintheair.com. You can follow me on Twitter at an angel in the air, and on LinkedIn under Angelique Stewart, Stewart.
Well, so glad to have you, girl. You're my friend.
Yes,
and
sir.
So I'm glad
for so many years. So grateful to you and your wife. Yes.
Thank you. You made time for little old me. Feel free to come by Victory Temple every Sunday morning from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. We're located at 2000 West Roosevelt Road in Broadview, Illinois, inside of the Community Presbyterian Church building. And I hope everybody love our new studio. We got an awesome studio, awesome producer who just, he did it for IntellectualRadio.com. Listen, if you want to know about IntellectualRadio.com or you want to have your own show, contact me. I'll make sure you get hooked up. Trust me. Amen. Stay tuned for Humanities in the Headlines right here on IntellectualRadio.com.